Just rub.
Yeah, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please hold your comments until I open the agenda items for public comment. When addressing the board, state your full name, both in person and on Zoom. It is suggested that you enter your full name as your ID on Zoom. Okay, minutes. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Appointments and recognitions, none presented. Consent agenda, letter to town manager and select board regarding the restriction of access to Sergeant Drive trash collection dated November 5, 2024. And State of Maine Department of Marine Resources notice of LPA renewal comment period.
Move acceptance of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, anybody want to discuss anything like the letter, for example?
Just acknowledging having received it, correct?
Correct.
And that we're working on details. We
Right.
haven't ironed those out yet.
I mean, there's a lot of potential responses, but
Yeah.
All right. Okay, all in favor? The select board reports.
I have one. If I may, Mr. Chairman, I would like to publicly thank Claire, her staff, and all of her volunteers for the excellent work they did on the election for 2024 and seamlessly, at least from an observer's perspective, it went seamlessly. But from what I hear behind the scenes, everything went well. And thank you very much for a great job.
You're very welcome, and I'd also like to extend a thanks to other departments that helped us, public safety, with fire, police, even the marina for parking down there, and Public Works did a lot of work behind the scenes as well.
Right.
Right, thank you. Yes,
I just want to thank Brian or whoever the motion lights getting us from point A to
Yes.
point B are very
Okay.
appreciated. So I'm really glad to see those.
I'll be right back.
I guess I would like to comment on the efficiency and how quickly the Somerville sidewalk project went through. I've had a few of my friends from another town on the island ask me, how did you do that? I said, I'm not in charge of that, but it looks great. They did a good job. And now there are only two one lane traffic stops between the high school and Tremont.
Okay, anybody else?
Well, I just want to follow up on, last time we talked about the holiday party, which hadn't been put together, and frankly, I've got some stuff coming up, family stuff and personal stuff, and I was unable to put something together for this year. If I had known further in advance, I may have been able to, but it all too much, so I'm hoping that next year we can do something. It was a nice tradition, it's too bad it's fallen by the wayside.
Anything else? Right, any unfinished business? No. New business, discussion of Mount Desert Chamber of Commerce third-party funding request. Memo of understanding.
I think the issue is, I think we've got one that's been approved, right? That was the Great Harbor Museum, but two
Yeah.
still seem to be in a pending status. So would like to know which way you want to go with those, because we're going to have to move their budget line over into contracting municipal services, and the sooner we can get that done, the better.
Well, from what I'm seeing, my thinking is that the Chamber of Commerce has a clear area that would otherwise be in our lap to deal with, and that's the visitor center. So any budget associated with visitor center we should probably assume.
I agree. So I move that we make the Chamber of Commerce a line item in the budget.
Second.
All in favor? Good. Okay, discussion of Mount Desert Island Historical Society third-party funding request MOU. Well, I don't see a connection. I don't see that kind of clear.
For the buildings that the island, the museum cares for on behalf of the town.
Yes, so those are, if I'm not mistaken, those are yours for in perpetuity as long as you remain a historical society.
That's correct.
Yes.
But they're not assets on our books, and so we have certain restrictions that are in place related to historic structures. Because of that, and then because we care for them, you know, it's just sort of as a community resource and asset, especially. The schoolhouse, you know, serves as the collection center and the archive for the island, but is also in a part of the town. And then the Sonesville campus is the most photographed place on the island, and it incurs quite a significant expense to the organization. I think we were hoping to see some, and who knows, it's significantly less than what we pay for those facilities to be able to keep them
Yeah.
in good operational order. You know, sort of on behalf of the community as part of the community resource. I think we see that we function in a similar way to the neighborhood house or the library, where we have free public services, free public programs, free campus access. And so I think we were hoping to see some sort of ability to have that relationship with the town more formalized.
I mean, I do see,
Sorry, you need a motion before discussion?
Yeah, we do.
Sorry, Wendy, but I just realized.
Yeah.
So I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, now
Sorry,
discussion.
Wendy.
I would just say that being involved with it more, I really do see the connection. And like that schoolhouse, it's gonna need work. I mean, you guys were really lucky this year. I think you had some people help with the outside, and if it wasn't for that, you could have had water damage, you could have, and I just feel like the bridge, like if they couldn't afford to paint it or couldn't afford to fix it, or the something outside board, that's a bad word, the railing, you know, I mean, everything is so expensive now. And I mean, I appreciate the fact that it is, what they're asking for is pretty minimal compared to their expenses. So I do see more of a connection than some of the other nonprofits, particularly in the education piece, which is really huge for our whole island, but.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I may. I also see the connection. I think they more rightfully belong within the line item budget of the town, given the fact that, as you said, in perpetuity, they belong to the historical society. But should they default, they revert to the ownership of the town, which puts it squarely on our shoulders. As a point of clarity, I guess this question will go to Derlin and or you, John. If we do vote in favor of inclusion with an MOU, we're agreeing that they belong as a line item. We're not voting on their request for $15,000. Is that
No.
correct?
That's right, you still have to go.
Thank you.
They would go to the budget, the select board, and then they would go to the warrant committee as well.
Thank you.
So they would be treated like any other.
That's a good question. Cause I had the same, there's less of I don't dispute that there's a connection that's worthy of, you know, continuing to strengthen, but the historical contributions are less consistent. So it's hard to, the amount was what I was like, I don't know, how do we decide on that? And anyway,
The
so I
amount,
appreciate the question.
excuse me, the amount is, I would give them. We're going to eventually, I gave Georgianne, you know, the form to fill out with how much money she was requesting for me to put in the budget. We'll eventually redo that form. We're still using the old third-party request form because it has all the information
Right.
on there. So Willie, did I send you one of those? Did you get one of those third-party ones?
No, you didn't, Derlin. I used the old one and just submitted it again, just so you had
Yeah,
lots of information.
Yeah, the old one is, the old one, well, it's got last year's date on it.
Yes.
Why don't I send you tomorrow one of the new ones and you can just update it with the new date. And if you vote for Georgianne, I'll send her one too. And then hopefully this year we'll redo that form for those for those MOUs. But the form does get all the information we need off of it.
Can I ask a question?
go ahead.
I have a question about the MOU format, because it was my understanding that the MOU was to cover costs for an expense that would ordinarily be covered by a town. So
That's-
public restrooms, library, the municipal pool, that makes sense. I guess my question is that codified someplace? Because while I entirely agree that the Soamesville Bridge is beautiful and, you know, heavily photographed, does it provide a service that would be ordinarily covered by a town, given that the Historical Society built it? I think there are lots of beautiful vistas in the town that everyone photographs that we love. We can all name a half a dozen. But if we get in the business of saying what is a town's job in terms of vistas, could that open a can of worms?
I think that's
I'm asking for the bridge. I'm asking for the schoolhouse and the selectman building.
In this-
Those are the historic structures.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good point, Willie, and I was thinking, you know, last meeting, we talked about the funding the restrooms, which we do every year, and making that a part of the MOU, but we have the same deal kind of with the museum, the Great Harbor Museum, as we do with the Historical Society.
in the chamber.
And we only give them money for the bathrooms.
Yeah, in fact, part of the, yeah.
Yeah. it's-
That's all they've requested.
That's all, but I mean, if we are talking about something that the town would otherwise have to provide, it seems to me that, you know, there should be, you know, bathroom that says there's a bathroom that's available for the public. I can see that, but I'm uneasy about ushering more and more organizations into a line item on the budget.
Yeah.
Because I think that's it sets a bad precedent.
So here's the thing.
Can I respond to
Yeah.
Martha for a second, though? Martha's question is entirely right about Great Harbor. It's basically the same setup. And at the time where the building was transferred to the museum, the bathrooms were this ambiguous gray area. And since at that point, the discussion was, you know, the town has given you the building, you take care of it, it's your thing. And later on, there was discussion with the bathrooms as a separate entity. So that's how that came about, Martha. But it's always been the feeling of the board that the building belongs to the museum and we fund it. And if the museum was ever go belly up, then you'd get it back in whatever condition it was in. That's a risk that everyone's involved with, I think.
Right, and also, as I recall, our agreement with the museum says that part of the duty of the owners is to keep the building up.
Yes.
Yes. That's correct. So, one point of clarification is, that Soamesville Schoolhouse, I mean, the schoolhouse, the main building. I don't ever recall the town owning that.
The deed that we researched for that is that we have it for $1. And that we have it on behalf, care for it on behalf of the town of Mount Desert.
Okay,
That we have certain restrictions and obligations that we're required to maintain to be able to continue use and habitation of the schoolhouse.
Yeah.
So if we can't do that, as Willie said, it reverts back to the town, or we have deferred maintenance, or we lay off staff.
yeah. So I agree. You know, I've got to say that, part of the deal is that when you assume those buildings, that you're responsible for their upkeep. And, you know, that's a really slippery slope because we have village improvement societies all over the town. And we all have buildings that need to be kept up, and the argument, we can make a much better argument for the service they do for the communities than the historical society. So direct relationship there. And we can't do that. We just cannot go down that road. It's a very slippery slope. The other thing is, and I just want to bring this up because it's historically important, and that is when the Historical Society first came to this board, well, it was obviously a different board. It was said, you know, I think they asked for $1,500, Sterling, or something like that. It was pretty modest. And we said clearly, this is fine for this year. We don't want to see you coming back every year for money. We don't want this to be, I know you don't, because it was way before your time. But that was the sentiment at the time, and I think it's important to keep those historical sentiments in mind, unless there is some compelling reason to alter those sentiments. So I'm not saying I would agree with those sentiments. I think it was sort of an unkind message to send. I wasn't on the board. I hadn't been on the board that long. But I was on the warrant committee at the time, and I do remember that. So that being said, yeah, I think, you know, if you assume ownership in perpetuity, unless you become no longer a historical society and so forth, bears with it the burden of taking care of those buildings. And I don't think it's really appropriate for the town to assume the upkeep of those buildings any more than it would be appropriate for us to assume the upkeep of the fire station for the Great Harbor Museum or the Otter Creek Aid Society Hall. You know, it just sets a precedent that I don't think we want to set.
John, relating to this though, does the Soamesville Museum also have a bathroom? Is that funded through Rainey's request?
Part of it and the Wi-Fi.
So
We also provide a municipal parking lot essentially in the village, but. I mean, I don't ask for any of that stuff. I was asking more for the public facing, you know, the beautiful buildings and historic structures and the public facing piece of maintaining those in the town.
Now, if you could pull out things that are directly useful to the town, not that I'm saying it's not useful, but things like that, like if it provides municipal parking. If there is, you know, if there are things in your budget that relate directly to something the town would have to provide as a service, if you didn't, then yes, that would be considered for an MOU.
I mean, that's folded into that whole piece, but yeah, I mean, if you wanted to go through a process where the number is not what's being approved, but that we would be considered under the MOU as a community asset and partner, then obviously the number comes later. I think my understanding is the question before you right now is whether you consider the NBI Historical Society to be eligible to be in the line item of the budget.
Yes, and I would say that it depends on what you include in that MOU.
Can I ask a clarifying question? What's the difference between the Chamber of Commerce and the money they ask to fund the visitor center that really technically probably not a lot of local town of Mount Desert residents go to the visitor center? I mean, it's kind of very similar. And if that visitor center isn't funded or used by the chamber, you know, run by the Chamber of Commerce, then there won't be one, and that becomes the town's responsibility. So if the Historical Society can't upkeep and continue their programming the way that they are, and a lot of people, I mean, I do a program there for a whole week, and no, it's not just the town of Mount Desert, but there are a lot of residents on the town, on the island that go to that program, but they don't go down to the chamber. I completely support the chamber, but I'm just, if we're gonna be, it's to me, that's a very similar thing with the chamber. But
Well, I have to say, in writing this and coming to the last meeting where we were discussing the MOU format versus the third party request, and there was, there's not criteria, and that's to Willie's point too. So it's really hard to know, like, what is it that you're looking for? What's the criteria? How can we make the case that we fit within that criteria, or be clear that we don't, and then we don't waste anyone's time and effort? Because I agree, like, I think that there seems to be some duality here that makes it really unclear for me. What is that criteria look like?
So I kind of just outlined it for you. I would say that in the absence of a historical society, would the town have a special budget item to create a historical society? Probably not.
But you'd have the buildings back.
Would have the
You'd
buildings,
two yeah.
but we would fund a bathroom and we would fund parking. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it were a warming and a cooling center, you know, that might be something else the town might be expected to undertake.
So is there like, yeah, a way that consistency of criteria can be applied across all the different organizations that we can see that? So that we have that equitable way to approach the process?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Willie's comment of if an MOU is if it's understood that that's something that if that organization doesn't, then it would be, have to be covered by the town, would be a clearer way rather than just this organization supports the town or does stuff for the town and this organization doesn't. I mean, it's.
Yes, would neighborhood house, would the town take on childcare services for neighborhood house or school, like the lunches, or would you open a library? You know, so it's like that clarity would be super helpful.
Because with the neighborhood house, what you're paying for is a recreational program,
Right.
which the town would probably take
Yeah.
on, because we did have one before the neighborhood house took it over. The town did sponsor when I was growing up, the
The rec
town
department.
paid for the recreation program. So the neighborhood house is a pretty clear one.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I think what we're getting muddied on here is that we are discussing in principle whether and to what extent the Historical Society is eligible for a memorandum of understanding. We have gone down the slippery slope road of, at this discussion, trying to determine what belongs in that MOU and what doesn't. That would be a subsequent discussion, in my estimation, held between the administration and the requesting party to determine, because none of these MOUs are gonna look exactly alike. They are going to be custom tailored to the agency that is actually being brought into the budget
mhm,
to meet not only the town's needs, but the agency's needs. So I think the question that's before us tonight is, does the Historical Society belong outside of the third-party request process and entered into the budget with a line item with a memorandum of understanding, and subsequent to that, have a discussion regarding what belongs in an MOU if we decide to go down that road?
That's a good point, right?
okay, I'll go for that.
I would offer, because there doesn't seem to be a clear understanding from anyone on what belongs, and this was new last year, and there were some clear candidates that we knew right away, and we thought we would entertain some other suggestions and add some more, and we have. This one is still sort of up in the air for all the reasons we've discussed. Perhaps we should consider making an effort before next season to do a better, criteria listing and call it a day for this season, this budget season on new ones. And ask that the Historical Society come back for this year with a third-party request like they have in the past, and give us a better opportunity to establish those criteria for next season, not rather than decide that they do not belong. We are not prepared to decide because we don't have those criteria clear enough for everyone. Just an idea.
Is that a motion?
No, the motion's already been made.
Yeah.
Well, the motion's already been made, but
Yeah.
that would be a second motion, I guess, and
Yeah.
perhaps, it's just, I'm not super thrilled with the idea of saying, of voting the motion down, but I think that we're not in a good place to vote it in under the current situation.
Did Great Harbor's MOU get voted in? If
What?
we're under the same criteria.
They're paying for the rest.
The marina, yeah, the,
Right, well,
The
the
bathroom.
budget, like the budget line item was gonna be a separate discussion. We said like this was just for the MOU process, so their MOU was accepted at the previous meeting.
Well,
So why
there-
would this one be considered different?
There was accepted that they would be an MOU, their budget would be decided at the budget review process where the contracted services fall under the general government budget. So they've not been awarded any money yet, although they will be asking for a sum, which they have done for several years under third party to take care of those bathrooms.
and they will justify it with specifics about the cost of those bathrooms exclusively.
And
And
those
that's-
were municipal bathrooms always
Yeah.
up on there, and it was like Willie said, the gray area when the building went over. Did the Great Harbor have to assume responsibility for those bathrooms as a result of taking on that building? It was decided that they did not. But they would come back for a third party request, and if they got it, they would provide them, so that's how that's worked.
Okay, so I guess we need to vote. Anyone have anything
Unless somebody
else?
wants to withdraw the motion.
Or if you would like to withdraw your motion.
Who made it? Did I make it?
You did.
You did.
Oh, I'll withdraw it.
All right, so where does that leave you?
Well, it looks to me like you're leaving that at the point where maybe we should go to third party this year, and then you will come up with a list of criteria for next year that would be very clear as to what would be in constitute an MOU and what would not.
I think that's right.
Okay,
Agreed.
do we need a motion for that?
It wouldn't hurt.
All right,
Is this meeting the last meeting where you're accepting applications for MOU for the budget season?
good question.
I would
Well-
suggest it should be.
Yeah, it probably should be. We're right up to the,
I think we determined that at our last.
That's why they're here.
Another 2 weeks, and then before we could even put it into a budget.
Yeah.
And then I think it's on the 16th, which is the meeting after the the next one, so it's 2 meetings from now, you're gonna start actually reviewing
It
budgets.
actually doesn't require a motion, it's only on the agenda for discussion.
oh,
So if I can just make sure that I'm understanding the MOU process in general, you're going to codify the MOUs going forward. John, is that correct? To figure out what counts and what doesn't?
yes,
And then will each third-party requester be given that to consider, or will it be up to them whether they want to apply on their own accord?
it will be up to them,
Okay.
yes.
yeah, it is, this is the last time we can do it.
For this budget season?
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
All right. So you done with that?
Did you vote it?
The motion was withdrawn.
Yeah, but you want, John, you wanted to make a second.
Well, I would move that,
This is just for discussion anyway.
yeah, I mean, and I would move that we plan to codify the expectations for future MOU requestors before the next budget season.
Okay, I'll second
But that's a general motion. That
I
doesn't
don't-
have anything to do with the Historical Society.
That's
stuff
correct.
that.
that. Right.
Can I ask a question? When you say codify, I know I'm splitting hairs here, but does this mean we're gonna do like an ordinance?
No,
Okay, so then maybe we wanna make that a policy?
We want to work on the policy and make it more and clarify the criteria. How's that?
that sounds good, what she said. Somebody else used the word codify, I
That's
just,
your motion.
yes, I know, sorry. No, not written into the code.
Okay, not that we're distancing ourselves from you or anything.
Really? Okay, what, did I do something wrong now?
We use the word.
Oh,
All right. So,
okay,
okay, we ready for item C?
Are you gonna vote on
We
it?
haven't voted.
Well, we don't require a motion for that, do we?
well, one was made and
We
seconded.
made a motion and seconded it.
This is just for clearer policy for the MOUs. That's the
Okay.
motion.
All right, all in favor?
Any opposed?
One. All right. Okay, request authorization to pay CNC Lynch Excavation LLC $3,466 for the prep work to allow MCM to install a new pole at Seal Harbor Pier. The Seal Harbor Docks and Pier CIP 641-0200-24600 has a balance of $81,174.21.
Move authorization.
Second,
All in favor? Request authorization to pay MCM Electric $4,880 for the installation of a new power pole at the Seal Harbor Pier. The Seal Harbor Docks and Pier CIP 6410200-246 has a balance of $81,174.21.
Move authorization.
Second.
All in favor?
We already authorized the whole to be done.
That's right. Consider releasing an amount not to exceed $2,000 from the fire station's building reserve account 4040300-2447 for the purpose of installing energy efficient LED lighting.
I'll move it.
All in favor? One thing, just a quick question. What does this involve? Is it fixtures or is it just light bulbs?
It's the fixtures themselves.
Fixtures.
In the front face. And stuff.
Okay. Oh, in Seal Harbor.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Bill?
And are you using an efficiency made contractor? Is this something you're doing yourself? And are you getting funding efficiency made from the in-house project?
Yes, no, and yes. We're hiring a contractor,
System.
we're using efficiency Maine and using contractor.
You are gonna get a rebate though?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, yes, I think that's in the packet, we're
Yeah, it is.
It was.
giving
Yeah.
kilowatts and, yeah.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes.
All in favor?
Okay, all in favor.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Consider releasing an amount not to exceed $2,000 from the fire station's building reserve account 4040300-2447 for the purpose of installing energy efficient LED lighting. We did that.
We just voted.
Sorry, guys.
Want to vote again?
Consider releasing an amount of $60,280 from the fire equipment engine reserve account 4040300-24471 for the purpose of purchasing Genesis E-Force extrication equipment.
So moved.
Second.
Can we get a brief description of what that means?
I give you a little backstory. One of the extrication equipment is jogging related.
Yeah.
Yes, that is. We planned on asking you to replace our current equipment when we had to deliver the truck, which we thought was gonna be last year, but now it's been pushed out until the end of next year. So working with Genesis, we knew this is the brand that we wanted because of the battery operation and they're gonna miss the memo. They were willing to work with us and put the extrication equipment on hold until we get closer to the new truck, or they were looking at a price increase, but I think it's gonna be next year. So I was intending on coming back to you folks early next year anyway, asking for this and holding on to it till that truck got delivered in late 25. But I got a call from the sales rep last Tuesday, by mistake, Genesis released the equipment, shipped it. And we received it last Thursday, so it's actually sitting downstairs. But I called the sales rep, they're willing to take it back, they said it was their mistake. I asked them if they were willing, we did keep it, and I told you people to see if we wanted to buy it early, if they were willing to waive the shipping charge, and they were, so that's where we are with the equipment. You can approve to buy this early, or you can reject it altogether, but I just thought if we have it here now, we can save the town money, and plus the increase next year, which we will face as well.
Thank you.
Will it be put into use now?
It will be, yeah, there's be a few weeks training time on it, because we have to get, this is totally different system, we won't come up.
Yep.
Gasoline powered hydraulic system to the battery powered.
I was just curious if there was any warranty on it and when the warranty would begin. I would imagine it begins when you begin using it.
It'll begin when we pay the invoice, most likely. Weeks.
And Mike, with the unencumbered balance in that reserve, is there, I mean, obviously there's enough money to pay for it for this year, but do you have other equipment that you should be getting for this year that will affect that budget, or do you think you're in good shape?
We're in good shape. I track my CIP pretty good. I did check with the finance director before the memo, and she assured me that we did have the funds there, even though we're doing the purchase earlier than this indicated with the CIP. And I will be coming back to you folks too, probably again either next year to replace our other set of extra equipment with this identical one. It won't be this year, but it'll be next year. We have two sets. We keep one here and one in Somerset.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes, well,
All in favor?
thank you.
Request authorization to go out to bid for the replacement of our 2016 Ford F-150 pickup, the Northeast Harbor Work Truck Reserve CIP 6410-100-24683 has a balance of $37,868.18, and the trade-in value of our 2016 F-150.
Do I assume they're trading in the 2016 and getting a bid for the replacement, which would be under $37,000?
That is the hope.
That seems
Recently,
very wishful.
yeah.
I would move authorization to go out to bid.
I would second.
Sure. All right, all in favor?
Is this for the marina, the work truck?
That is
Who's this?
correct, yes.
Okay.
All right. Review and approve the sale of the Steel Harbor Pier Comfort Station to Rodney King for the sum of $1.
Sentimental purchase.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, so is this comfort station the wooden building that used to be
Yes.
the,
It's on the pier, yes.
yeah, is it
I
still,
don't have, what, pardon?
is it still sound?
Yeah, it can still be used.
Yeah.
I just don't have a purpose for it. It would be expensive to move it off-site.
And he's gonna move it, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna move it.
All right, yeah, sure.
Seems like
Well,
Lawn ornament.
well, I was just gonna say another lawn ornament in the creek, you know, but
Are we voting?
yes. All in favor? Okay,
You make $1 to get rid of it.
Part of the aid society.
Maybe the fire department.
no, yeah, it'll be the new fish house.
Okay, I thought it would be an aid station for the aid society.
Or, no, don't even go down that road.
We're getting right to the end, folks. Let's.
Okay, forge forward, okay. Review and approve the repair of the surface of the Seal Harbor Pier by CNC Lynch Excavation in the amount of $13,270.50, and to utilize funds from Public Works Grounds Reserve Account 4055-200-24571.
What's the balance in that account?
$57,512. Is that correct?
That's what it said.
It's in the measure that would remember, I think, right?
I think it's in the memo.
Yeah, yep, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay, move. Is it, been-
No,
I'll move it.
Second.
all in favor? Good,
Oh, we got all this over this place.
okay. Any public comment on anything?
We
Bill,
gotta make some, we continue to purchase vehicles, and I don't think we're continue to look at possible hybrid and EV vehicles that we're trying to promote as a town through our climate action plan. And so here's a perfect example that, yes, they do need a work truck for the marina. $37,000 is not gonna buy an electric vehicle. It might be able to get an eco boost. They don't drive it a lot, so I don't really worry about, the one thing if they're gonna be driving this hundreds of miles a week, they're not. It's not like a police cruiser, which they are slowly transitioning now to all hybrids downstairs. The electric vehicles are very expensive, and that's, a limiting factor, but again, I think it's our diligence as a town and as a community to always look at those other options that are possibly available that might look expensive today. But, we are still trying to look out for the future.
Fair point.
yeah, fair point. All right. We're ready, vote.
Yeah, we're done.
We're done.
Public comment.
We're ready
Public
for.
comment, any other public comment? Any other business? All right, treasurer's warrants, approval and signature, AP 2534 in the amount of $499,691.78.
Move approval and signature.
Second.
All in favor? Approval. State fees and payroll benefits, AP 2532, AP 2533, and town payroll, PR 2510. In the amount of $250,976.57.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
One abstention, please.
Acknowledgements, school invoices, AP 05, school payroll, PR 10. No voided disbursements in the amount of $149,682.58.
Move acknowledgement.
Second.
All in favor? We kept it under $1 million.
Yeah.
There's an extra dollar sign in there though.
Move to adjourn meeting.
Second.
Motion to adjourn. Yes.